Welcome to today's episode. I will be joined by Richard, who's the CEO and founder of Purple Brains. Richard has been a technical partner and he is also a fractional product manager. Richard, please.
Hello, good morning, Abdullah.
Hi, Richard. How are you doing? All good?
Yes, fine.
Richard, just out of curiosity, what's the most interesting AI use case that you've had within the past 24 hours?
All right. The past 24 hours, I replaced my mechanic and I avoided him scamming me for $400. So practically, I was on the road and there was a bunch of alarms that sounded on my dashboard. And I have a conversation on ChatGPT where I trained it on my car information, the VIN number, and all the details. All I did is that I explained the situation for ChatGPT and took a screenshot or a picture of the dashboard. It told me different use cases to fix the car. Because I didn't want to get my hands dirty, I passed by the mechanic and he wanted to change the ICU for $400.
Which is
And
definitely not related.
yeah, totally. Like it's the last potential problem, but
Mm.
he chose the most expensive one to start with. So I cleaned up the sensor with some WD-40 as ChatGPT explained to me in details. So now I start with ChatGPT anytime I have a car problem.
Is that the regular ChatGPT or do you have a custom GPT that you've trained just for that use case?
No, actually, it's the regular one, the paid version. And I used the GPT-5 model and I trained it on the car information, the model number, the VIN number, and all of that, and the mileage and when was the last time I did my oil change and so that. So now and I asked it to act as my AI mechanic specialized in my car brand.
Curious, how does that link to what you guys do at Purple Brains? How would you use AI for your customers?
Starting the end of 2024, as fractional product managers, we used to take one or two projects at a time because we were hands on. Now we are five times more effective and more accurate as well. For example, previously, market research used to take 3 to 4 weeks if you want to be thorough. And if it's a new industry and a new market, currently it
What takes
takes
more?
4 hours,
Yeah.
and this with all the validation of all the links and the reasoning of the model. And we do that on multiple models, and then we combine because each model has its strengths and weaknesses. So this is one small example. So currently what we do, we are an AI individual contributor product managers. We can handle up to 6, 7 projects in parallel. The project that used to take our team's time 200 hours a month now takes 40, 30 hours a month. And we are still delivering the same level of service and sometimes more accurate.
Interesting. So essentially, how would the customer leverage this? Let's say I wanted to be your customer and I wanted to fully understand the capacity that you guys present at Purple Brains. Let's say I have some minimum viable product idea that I want to come up with. And I say, Richard, this is my idea. I want to have an automation tool for LinkedIn outreach.
It was previously having the empathy, doing UX research, then ideating, building a prototype, and building the actual MVP. Used to take around 6 months.
Okay.
And the resources you would need was a UX researcher, the fractional product manager, a UX UI designer, and at least a mid-career developer who's a full stack. If you combine those people fees for 6 months and different ratios, you would end up somewhere around 30K in those 6 months. It used to take at least 6 months to have an MVP if it was a very limited MVP. Currently, we are able to do all of that for them in the range of 2 months. There's a bottleneck here, which is the UX research, because we are limited by the number of people and the speed people answer us on our surveys and questionnaires. This is
Yes.
why it's still 2 months. The actual work that we're doing, starting with the market research and doing all the frameworks like the lean canvas, the personas, the user journey, takes 2, 3 days. It used to take at least 1 month. Preparing the UX questions for the interviews and surveys and analyzing the results of those used to take around 4 to 6 weeks as well. Just the analyzing used to take 1 to 2 weeks because we use the thematic approach. It's really hard, and you need to review it multiple times to make sure that you captured all the themes. Now the analysis takes one day or 2 days maximum. And then we do the prototyping ourselves using Banani, an amazing UX tool. And then I drop those to Figma. I either use Lovable, Bolt, or V0, and we build the prototype. And if we need some fine tuning, we can just hire a developer for 1 week to make sure everything is secure. We launched in 2 months.
Have you tried the fork of Bolt, which is bolt.diy, which is the open source version where you could just literally add your own AI and it would generate everything locally?
I'm not heavily using Bolt. I'm trying now Cursor because I'm not limited by the language and
Yeah.
infrastructure if I want to host a full stack backend. So I'm experimenting with Cursor now. I was able to fix some bugs in our startup Mia without the need to hire a developer. And I just published it using Cursor and all of that. I'm not saying I'm able to build an enterprise solution using Cursor, but prototypes, functional prototypes, and MVPs, we're able to do that unless there's some complex platform problem or feature where we need to have GPS data or we need to use the resources of the phone, we need to optimize that. This is where we hire developers. Other than that, we're able to produce decent prototypes with those tools.
So, Richard, could you share a recent project where you guys did that? I think that would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, actually, there are two projects that are currently, we just delivered them 2 days ago. One project is a carbon calculator for an Irish team of founders. And what they do is that they provide you a quick way to calculate the carbon footprint of the SKU that you are producing by referencing that to other existing products that are similar. And there's an AI assistant that asks you a couple of questions to refine the accuracy of what they are producing. So they came to me with some forms they used to fill and they just wanted a database. We validated the problem they are solving, we prototyped and built the solution using Lovable. Now they are showcasing that to their investors and fundraising based on that. A second case is a holistic business directory. They wanted a business directory that is both accurate and easy to search for people who are not very tech savvy, and that showcases freelancers and service providers. After we did our UX research and we understood what are people looking for on both sides of the marketplace, the service providers as well as the users. We prototyped that using Stitch. We just built it using a mix of Lovable and Cursor. Lovable took a lot of prompting to fix. Eventually, it starts hallucinating and you need to restart the prompt. We kept it aside and we did it at the end on Cursor. And we used the Claude 4 to fix that really fast.
So, Richard, it seems like you're pretty into vibe coding tools, which is very interesting, as it's rare for us to find a professional adopting those tools. I personally like to have some side projects that I work on, but I found great success with the VS Code Copilot. What I noticed is that the same exact prompt seems to produce very different results in Cursor and in VS Code. So I'd like to get your insights on that. What could be the reason behind that?
Code, if you link it to GitHub and
Yeah.
Copilot has access to the whole code base, you can use the model and everything. This has a lot of edge on how the reasoning is done. Now, I am not a technical person, I am a product manager, and I refer to my technical partner whenever I get stuck. Their preference is, as you said, VS Code with Copilot. I found it a little bit more complex for me to use. That's why I use Cursor. It's more simple for me as a user experience. But VS Code allows you to get more technical, to get more spot on whatever you're trying to solve or build.
Richard, just out of curiosity, what's one tip you would give to other product managers that are trying to improve the project they are working on right now? Maybe they recently joined the company, maybe there's been a change in management, and they want to make sure that the product they have is top notch. what would you give them 3 tips on how to make sure that you get the maximum out of the product that you're managing?
Like for sure, the tips will all resolve around how much they adopt AI in every aspect of their product management. First of all, they need to adopt AI, get better in prompting, and start every task on AI. Putting arrogance aside, I have met a lot of product managers and a lot of professionals in general, including developers, designers. They are very arrogant to use AI because they still think they can produce something better. But I found that using AI and then putting my experience on top is saving me 80% of the time on any task I'm doing. Every task starts with some legwork that you need to do, some research, some writing long forms. And then, if you, let's say you have an intern or a junior person that does that for you, and then you add your experience on top of it, this has delivered a lot more efficient work and a lot more accurate work because the intern, the AI intern, is thorough. They have access to a lot more room for research than you do. Especially when you are a senior person, you start cutting corners on those kind of researches because you want to get to the analysis part. So now you don't have to do those cut corners. One more thing is that with the capabilities of AI, we are able to analyze a lot more data than we used to do before, embedding your customer feedback into AI and customizing your user journey using AI allows a more personalized experience for every type of user. And they feel that you just built that just for them. So the onboarding experiences can change based on the personas. And now because you can build that very easy using the AI tools and customize the journey, analyzing feedback and prioritizing this feedback to put it in your backlog. This is much faster now, and you can analyze a larger amount of feedback.
I was speaking to a product manager recently who's a very dear friend of mine, and he was having a huge problem when it comes to integrating AI with their current workflow. And that problem, which is a very interesting problem, is that management says all the features are equally important. So, how would you help this person better understand that? Because everybody says, I need those 5 features and they are of equal priority. I need them right now, today. How would you manage that? Is there a specific AI hack that you have or a specific approach that you've developed over the years?
Well, first of all, before the AI hack, my advice to any product manager is that regardless if they come up as rude, they are protecting the product. So they need to learn how to say no. That's fundamental. With the clients that I used to work with, they were pretty sensitive to no. So I came up with a diplomatic no that whenever the founders or the C-level people come back from networking events and they are very excited about a conversation they've made that gave them an idea, I would start probing with them like, this is the vision we're going toward in the short term. How does that serve the vision? What is the benefit for the business outcome they are looking for? If I find that it doesn't have grounds, it's not a priority, or it's delaying guys, I give them two options. I tell them, you either put it in the backlog and we see when we can prioritize it. This is a blunt no. They know that we're not going to build it now. But I didn't tell them no. I told them, let's write it up in the backlog, give it a low priority, and then we can prioritize it later. Or I would tell them, well, we estimated this and it is 10 story points, 12 story points. If you want us to build it now, you have to remove from our backlog the equivalent 12 story points from existing work to replace that one. And you need, so you give them now, you like, there's when there's scarcity of anything, it gains value. If they
100%.
think that they can keep pushing the deadline, we can keep building and building. As product managers, we're always looking to reach the milestone so we can show it to our users and evaluate their feedback. Building internally doesn't have much value. What has
Yeah.
value is putting that in the hands of users and getting their feedback. Whenever the founders or stakeholders feel they can keep pushing the deadline or changing the scope because they are paying for it, you tell them no, this is the scope. You want to change it, take the equivalent value of the existing work to replace it with the new work. They have to choose which one has greater value for their goals as a user.
Which is the biggest priority? Mhm.
Sometimes they say, okay, I didn't care a lot for that. Let's remove it and replace it with the new work. Or they say, let's keep the scope, but put this immediately after the first launch. I say, yeah, we will discuss it whenever we launch them. Because whenever we launch, we receive feedback. And this feedback from users, it's much more important than what you're suggesting. Now, if the feedback aligns with the new feature that they have put, now it starts gaining priority. And then naturally, it will go on the top of the backlog. But if the feedback is somewhere else, that means users did not miss that big feature the founder is excited to build, and they are missing something else. So we prioritize that. This is without any AI interference, but analyzing the feedback and showing scores to the different requests and the different themes the feedback is being received, this is much faster with AI.
So it seems like 50% of a project owner or project manager's role would be potentially technical. And then the other 50% is all about the negotiation side of things. Even if I'm so good at technical expertise and I can manage the product, make sure that I have everything as needed, but if I do not have clear boundaries and everybody seems to be jumping all over the place, my product will fail. So maybe that's something we should definitely highlight, because a lot of people are afraid of AI replacing them. So maybe I could come up with my N8N. Maybe you could develop the product owner or technical
Yes,
manager on
we
your end.
are developing now an AI product manager. I'm not worried AI is going to take my job because there's a certain agency that
Mhm.
product managers need to have. They put their gut feeling, they have their previous experience, they feel whatever the users are feeling and have empathy with the users. This is not yet there with AI. Now, the technical steps, building frameworks, doing analysis, even analyzing the market analysis, if someone experienced would do it, it comes up different than what the AI would do because
100%.
you have some restrictions, especially if you are not giving the full context to the AI, although you should give the full context to the AI. But there's still unspoken stuff that people can feel, that people can anticipate, that people can foresee based on experience
Mhm.
that you can still do. So we are not worried about AI taking our jobs. We are building an AI product manager because not everyone can afford our services and everyone deserves to have some kind of product management help. This will allow them to use the prompts that we use internally in a very systematic way, taking them step by step to have their prototype and the prompts they need to give to the AI developers so they can kickstart their project.
So
Now,
essentially, yeah.
now about the alignment, 50% of our work, probably more, is speaking to the different parties, speaking to the stakeholders, making sure we are aligned on their business objectives, making sure that we align them between each other on the product
Mhm.
vision. Because sometimes you have different partners, they think they are aligned, but whenever you go to the details and to the prioritization, this is where you find out there's a lot of gaps in their alignment. And the second part is speaking to your users most of your time and hearing what they have to say. And the third one is alignment within the team. Whenever I work with any team, all the team members need to understand the objective we're working towards. Sometimes I try to narrow it down to one objective to make it the absolute truth for them. And every single feature they are building, I make sure they understand the context of that feature, why we're building them, what I observed with my users, what was their behavior, their complaint, their request, and why we're building it that way, and how this would contribute to the product overall and to the business gains of that product.
Very interesting, to be honest. It's a very complicated role that you guys are trying to fill for those companies. And it's pretty interesting perspective because most of us have the idea of a technical person being just sitting with the laptop, doing what has to be done, going home, working another set of 12 hours, and that's it. But it's definitely more extensive and more complicated. That's why it's always best to keep this to the experts. So I'd like to give you a 30-second clip where I'll stop my screen and you'll have the full screen. Please feel free to plug in what you guys do for just 30 seconds.
Hello, at Purple Brains, we are tech founders and fractional product managers. We have a combined experience of more than 30 years in the tech products creation. We help startups and businesses turn their ideas into products users would love while minimizing risk and resources. We try to get really fast to our customers and leverage customer feedback as the main pillar of our work. We have helped more than 50 products across 15 different industries. If you're launching a digital product as a founder or a business trying to digitize your services, please give us a call and benefit from our free discovery call, where we try to give you as much value in 45 minutes for free and no strings attached.